All right, so with the shine, this is AEW Dynamite, the 4th of December, the year of our Lord 2024. Um, we started out hot with Kyle Fletcher and Shelton Benjamin. I love the present. I mean, I know I've gone on and on about it, but I love the presentation of Shelton Benjamin ever since they signed him. He's been booked so strong to look like such just this unstoppable force, even in the match that he lost to Swerve. He looked
Yeah.
fantastic, and he looked like he was just murking him for most of the match. And Swerve really had to come from behind. This was much the same, and Fletcher finally beat him by cheating. So like, there's no outside interference, but heels can still be heels, which
Mhm.
is good. You should have that option at your disposal. We will, however, be talking about it later. Uh, the match was good. Benjamin actually, I think, dominated probably most of it, and Fletcher was kind of coming up from behind, but not in a way that would endear him to the crowd. So he's wrestling smart. That, such a smart kid in that ring. He's the what 24, I think he said, right?
Yeah,
Like
something like
he's
that.
insanely. He's got so much ahead of him. But yeah, sometime afterwards, after he uh, Fletcher rolls up Benjamin out of nowhere and holds onto the ropes outside the view of the referee to get the 3 count. And Benjamin is stunned as well. He probably should be. The fans were certainly stunned. They were like, oh, okay, all right. I didn't really know they reacted, but it took them a second. They're like, oh, all right, fair enough.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I thought that was great. And then afterwards, a little later into the show, there's a backstage segment where MVP kind of gave Benjamin a pep talk. This isn't what we do, this kind of thing. I thought that went over really well, and I think it's setting up Shelton Benjamin to have a little bit. He's probably not going to make it into this as the runner-up, but he's probably going to get really, really close. He's probably going to be the third in the bracket, and he's probably going to look good in every single match.
Yeah.
The two that he has left, I think. So he's going to come close.
Mhm.
I would say that he probably misses it probably by a point, if I had to guess, or
Yeah.
probably not a point because maybe the points differential between him and the leader will be too great to sustain. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
Um,
Yeah.
we'll see. Um, Swerve Strickland murked Matt Caster, completely, utterly annihilated him. Complete and total squash of the self-professed best wrestler alive. And
Mhm.
I don't think the crowd could have been happier if you gave them all $100 that taped underneath their seats.
Yeah.
Everybody hated Max Caster. Also, you know what? I'm gonna bring this up too because the crowd was hot in Fisher, Indiana, the whole time,
Hmm.
the entire time, and that bled into Rampage that they taped afterwards. Usually, the crowd. I've been there. I've been to several Dynamite / Rampage tapings now, and Dynamite takes a lot out of you because they try and pack it with good stuff that'll get you energized. Usually, you're like, ugh, by Rampage. No, no, man. Let me tell you, this crowd was probably the best crowd that they've had all year, aside from pay-per-view crowds. Like, best Dynamite / Rampage crowd you could have asked for. I think it was the beginning of them moving to the smaller venues that are more packed, giving you that indie feel, but on a bigger stage. This is definitely the way to go, given their attendance issues. That's the only time I'm ever going to mention that from here on out. It's definitely the way to go. And if it Fishers, Indiana, which I think it's a suburb of Indianapolis, so it's not like it's some nowhere town. I think it's in the Indianapolis general area. So a
Yeah.
lot of those people probably came from the big city. But I mean, wow, I didn't know Indiana had that many incredible, incredible fans. Kudos to Fishers, Indiana, for being into everything.
Yeah.
Uh, Pack versus Jay White was great. That was on after this match. Jay White and Pac. I think this was their first ever one-on-one meeting. which
Mhm.
is I always love it when they can say that, because then you feel like you're witnessing something historic, even if it's like a middle of the road match. This was good. I wouldn't say it was next level, but it was, it established Jay White as, again, as being very crafty with the win.
Mhm.
At one point, Pac had the brutalizer on, but it was uh, Jay White was carrying all his weight in a standing position, and he had him in there for a long time. So it made White look really tough, because usually people tap to the brutalizer quite quickly. So
Yeah.
that's a really well protected submission finish. Um, but White walked himself to the ropes and then like kind of collapsed into them. Uh, Wheeler hits him with the Busaiku knee on the outside when he rolls to the outside. Uh, but it didn't matter, because like I think the power of his Busaiku knee diminishes the further he gets away from the catastrophic decision he made to turn on his mentor Brian Danielson. Like it, like the further away he gets from the Danielson ethos, the less powerful the finishers that he ripped from him are when he executes them. Because Jay White just rolled back into the ring and immediately hits the Blade Runner for the win. Like
Yeah.
it was like, well, I guess that's it. Um, Afterwards, Yuta gets a Blade Runner for his troubles. He's really starting to pay the price now for his decisions. But the best thing about this show was what happened next. You talk about matches being great, but you need to back them up with moments. This felt like a huge historical Dynamite moment. Like after the match, Shafir finally gets in and she stares down White, but obviously it's just a distraction. So Mox can come in and nail him from behind, gets him with a paradigm shift, and they're about to leave, but then Hangman's music hits, and he comes out, and Moxley's so good at those little facial reactions, and he hears the music and he's like, and it's like he's the only one who gives him pause, because he knows exactly how dangerous Hanger is. That dude is the only person in AEW to get a submission victory over John frickin' Moxley, because he hung him over the top rope with a metal chain in a Texas death match, and he made John Moxley, the most protected guy on the roster, tap out immediately in that match. He knows, and add into the psychological issues that Hanger's been having over the past year and shown, and you have John Moxley treating him with the respect that he deserves, and
Yeah.
so he comes out and he's like, he has this look on his face like, oh crap. Oh well, I guess I told people to stand up, and here we go. All right. And so, I mean, to his credit, he backs up what he says. He comes out to meet him. And then all of a sudden, a guy in a hoodie who, he has one of the cable cords, he takes his hoodie off, and it's Orange Cassidy back from the dead. And he starts choking Moxley from behind. And the baby faces start getting in on it. And they roll Mox back into the ring, who immediately gets an orange punch. And then he gets a Blade Runner. And then Hanger, who had been uh, uh, on the outside momentarily. He gets up on the apron. He hangs onto that top rope, and he has this look on his face that combines rage and guilt and pain. Like these two, Mox and Hanger, are just so good at like the little acting things
Mhm.
that are necessary for TV wrestling specifically. Like if it's not being televised, you have to go big. It's theater. You have to play to the rafters so that even the people way up in the bleeders can see you and see what you're doing. But on TV, it needs to be more subtle. It needs to be more. And you'll forgive me for going against my own code here, but needs to be more cinematic. So, um, and Hanger is just so good and underrated at that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like people don't give him the credit he deserves for this part of his performances, but he really has this look of just all these different emotions, and he hits that buckshot lariat, and you can see it's so cathartic for him, and it's cathartic for the audience, because finally Mox has been put down after terrorizing everybody for 3 straight months with hardly any comeuppance. He gets his, and it's so well done. And then the three, Mox rolls out of the ring. I think Shafir drags him out and rescues him. And all three of the guys in the ring, they're all looking at each other suspiciously, but kind of with mutual respect. It's like, yeah, we did this for us. And then a cherry on top of the Sunday is Christian Cage comes out and he's just standing at the top of the ramp while Shafir and Moxley and Yuta are trying to make their getaway, and he's just standing there with that smug smirk on his face that he has. Oh, this was you felt in the moment that it was an all-time Dynamite moment, and we hadn't had one of those. I feel for so long. They talk about bringing the feeling back. This is the feeling that they're talking about bringing back. This is the feeling. That was far and away for me the best thing on the show, on a really good show for that matter. Something. Okay, so if I had to talk about something I didn't really care for, I mean, the Battle Royal was it was there. It was there, and the people you knew were going to be winning it won.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't exactly groundbreaking work. I mean, it moved the story along. It wasn't there to be there, but like, I mean, the only really interesting thing I think that came out of this was the tease of the split between Top Flight and Leo Rush and Action Andretti. Like even Leo and Andretti came out with those matching big puffy coats.
Yeah.
It's like this is the first time we've seen Andretti and Leo matching up like that. So, that was kind of foreshadowing of it. They eliminated Top Flight. And that would get brought up later in the week.
Yep.
So for that, I'm glad that they took the opportunity that they saw to move that story along. But that story to me is more interesting than the one between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. And I love those guys. I love Adam Cole, baby. And I love Kyle O'Reilly. I think he's one of the most underrated guys on the roster. He can do literally anything, and he does it with type 1 diabetes. So, like, as somebody who has a child with type 1 diabetes, that's inspiring for me. And I hope that, once he's old enough to kind of watch wrestling with me, that it would be inspiring for him. But yeah, this is just, like I said last week, can we just get to Act 3 of this already? Like, I just want to see Adam Cole beat MJF, and I do want to see him beat MJF. MJF needs to pay for his crimes. He still hasn't paid for that poor girl that he set up to take the fall for a drunk driving crash. Okay, he's not done it. He is not done it. The bad guys should get their comeuppance. He must pay. I don't care that the devil storyline was just straight butt. Like, I don't care. Give me what I want. And for God's sake, can we just get it like 2 weeks from now, please? I just want it. Yeah. But what's probably going to wind up happening is Kyle's somehow going to win. Adam Cole's probably going to get distracted by somebody or something that MJF set up so that MJF doesn't have to face Cole again, and then he's going to face off against Fletcher at World's End, and he's going to, or not Fletcher. Why do I keep going back to other guys' name? Kyle. There are too many Kyles. There are too many Kyles. None of them died. No.
That's Kenny.
The people who die are going to be on the next show that we talk about, or the next show that I talk about. We'll get there. But no, Kyle, and he's just going to lose because that's what Kyle does. He gets built up with preliminary wins, and then he puts over the other guy. He's a way too talented enhancement talent. That's kind of what he is at this point. I would have preferred that they put him in the Continental Classic. At least then he could get a couple of wins for once. But whatever. So that was what I didn't really like. But the show ended strong, I thought. Claudio and Brody King had a banger.
Yeah, I think it was badass,
big,
wasn't it?
meaty men slapping meat Yeah. And it was great because it was a, your classic big meaty man in Brody King, who, to be fair, he's more than that. He's acrobatic and stuff too. But then you have
Mm.
Claudio, who is literally in a class by himself.
Yeah.
Like nobody does what Claudio does. Only
No.
Claudio does what Claudio does.
No, he has the
Is
strength of dudes twice his size.
and he moves like a cruiserweight, and
Yeah.
like he still hits like a truck, and like he pulls out stuff that you've never seen before. Like if this was fantastic, so like you had a big meaty man match that wasn't your classic just beat them up. We're gonna exchange strikes. We're gonna do slams and stuff. Like it was a competitive match that actually saw Claudio, to my surprise, really kind of dominate most of it. He picked the leg and he kept at it. Um, that being, I wasn't a fan of the finish. Uh,
Yeah.
Claudio goes to the eyes, gets the low blow, and he hits the neutralizer. I mean, but I'm a fan of Claudio going over though, because if you're gonna have the Death Riders be these big bad guys, you gotta make them look good.
Yeah.
Like he has to make it to at least the runner up position in his league. He needs to in
Hmm.
order for the Death Riders to be taken seriously. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the winner was the right call. Have a little issue with the finish. I mean, I would have just had him win by countout. That's what I would have done. I would have had him beat up the leg so bad that King couldn't get back in the ring, and then
Yeah.
have him sell it for the rest of the tourney, so that some of the smaller guys can reasonably get wins over him and still protect Brody because he has this injury that this big, strong, mean dude inflicted upon him earlier, and it sells what they're trying to sell. The grueling nature of the tournament, right? I mean, everybody wins that way. See? Constructive criticism. Like that's what I would have done. I would have had him work the leg to the degree that he gets rolled out to the outside and then he can't make the 10 count. That's what I would have done. I don't know if the crowd would have bought that. You probably wouldn't have made that the main event. You probably would have had to switch things around.
Yeah.
But you want to send them home or into Rampage happy. But yeah, I feel like other than that, the match itself was baller. Like that was a great match, and I really want to see it again. I want to see it. Like I would like maybe for perhaps the Continental Championship to be on the line the next time these two guys do this. I think
Yeah.
it would be fantastic.
I agree.
Uh,
It was
but
really
yeah,
good.
I mean, nothing more really to say about Dynamite. I thought for the most part it was a great episode of Dynamite with an all timer segment right in the middle. Like
Hmm.
I can't put over enough how much I loved that segment. Absolutely the bomb. You should go check it out if you haven't already. But with that, I think it's time to get to the Morton.